In just a few hours following this video's release, my little sister is having her high school graduation. After this summer, she will move somewhat far away, like I did for college just 3 years ago. She's also getting married, which is unlike me from 3 years ago. It feels like an old person type of thing to say, where has the time gone? But I feel like notable turning points like these are probably normal for these sorts of reflections. I remember not even being able to grasp what life would look like outside of high school, what it would be. Like, a part of me sort of just believed it wouldn't even happen, like it was a fabricated part of life. Life was school, from as young as I can remember. So then, as I follow that train of thought along with my sister leaving, I go back to what I can remember. How we grew up together, what time we spent together, and one of those first things that connects us that I think of and that I can remember are my first two video game consoles, the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo GameCube. I got the SNES before the GameCube, of course, but I was so young that the memories sort of bleed together. Once I got home, I was looking at all my old video games and I got nostalgic. So, as a brief sort of aside, for those of you who watched my Fruits Basket video, I did end up buying a cheap rice cooker like I said. It was $14.99 and it works as well as I would need. I also, a month ago, as some of you know from my Breath of the Wild and Nintendo videos, bought a capture card. I thought I could now talk about and film all these wonderful games that meant so much to me in my childhood. We hit another snag though, unfortunately. All of our TVs and monitors and everything use HDMI, not RCA, so it took me a couple days, but I bought a converter to fix that issue. And I even bought a new controller for my Super Nintendo. Now, some of you might be wondering why I went through all those extra loops to play it legally when I could easily get footage of it that was emulated. Well, to me, I feel like for this video, for talking about the games that mean so much to me, emulating would sort of be counter to the impact that the system had on me. So I wanted to make a special note here that all the footage you see is me playing, and it's not just me playing, but I'm playing my old controller on the console that I've had since near infancy. This isn't just footage of the game, it's footage from the exact same console, the exact same disc, using the exact controller that I picked up and was a part of what made me love video games as much as I do today. This console exists with intense and lasting memories, and is the home of what are still some of my favorite games of all time, the Nintendo GameCube. Unfortunately, some years back I sold some of the games that I remember playing a lot, like Battle for Bikini Bottom, Clash of Ninja 2, and even Mario Party 7, which I used to play with my sister a lot. My heavy hitters are still here though, most of them, and you can see them from the footage I recorded. I think Super Mario Sunshine I'd like to mention first, because that's the game that my sister really liked. She hated playing multiplayer with me because I would always beat her and was probably unnecessarily cruel, especially in things like Pikmin II's multiplayer. She did like Mario Party 7, and sometimes had fun with Double Dash, but if she ever asked me to play a game, it was always on my GameCube. And not just that, it was always Super Mario Sunshine. Even though my sister and I are very different in our interests, I think that she probably liked Sunshine for many of the similar reasons that I do. The atmosphere. Unlike other great Mario games like Odyssey and 64, Delfino Plaza was a central hub bigger than the others, more lively, and there were shops and boats. There were all sorts of different people and citizens with their different daily routines and walk cycles, or whatever they did. Delfino Plaza was a coherent living space, more than most any other Mario game that I can think of, at least outside of the different RPG titles. Speaking of RPGs, remember when Paper Mario was one of those? And a surprisingly deep one, too? I probably sunk hundreds upon hundreds of hours into Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door. I got lost all of the time, probably frustrated, but the characters, the atmosphere. It felt like Nintendo was really building worlds for their GameCube. I still remember specific moments from these games, which is hilarious because I don't think I can even recall that many specific moments from that period in my life outside of games. At this point in my life, I wasn't exactly at a loss for friends. I didn't feel a lack of direction. I went to school, sometimes I did my homework. I hung out with friends at recess, and I watched cartoons. I hung out in my yard, pretending to fight monsters that didn't exist. And I turned on my GameCube on breezy, sunny summer afternoons, and I played it. Ironically though, while I think the Thousand Year Door and obviously Sunshine both have these sort of moods and make me feel this sort of way, the two games I liked the most were pretty different, but they still had that singular world-building aspect in common. The first is a launch title, an unfortunately short game, Luigi's Mansion. Honestly, I'm going to play through the entire game again and give my thoughts all these years later in much more depth in another video, but Luigi's Mansion for me continued this world building. For me, the entire game was the portrait ghosts, pulling up your scanner and literally reading their hearts and hearing what they were thinking. They were sometimes malicious, sometimes snarky or rude, sometimes they just wanted to be left alone, or just wanted to continue what they loved doing in the afterlife. But they all had their thing. Unbelievably creative, even though the mansion wasn't all that big, when I was little it still felt like it. Once again, the atmosphere was the thing that tied it together. It was incredible. It felt like it had a bit of dirt on the lens, some character, something that, at least for a brief time, bothered me with some of the sequels or other Nintendo games that had come out. Finally, and this game I will definitely make a video on. Heck, I might even make a 3-part retrospective on the entire series, so let me know if you want that. I might do it anyways. That's Pikmin 2. Still one of my top 5 games of all time. This game was super cute. It was really beautiful, at least for GameCube standards, that is. But what I loved the most was underneath, it was ominous. It was oppressive. I genuinely got scared when I was younger, and I'm sure plenty of other people, pretty much anybody who's truly played through the game, can probably think of a couple areas that I would be talking about. The comedy was there through the characters and their interactions, the letters that he received. The gameplay was unlike anything else I've ever played. Sure, I've played other RTS games. I mean, I had played one on my computer that was a Lord of the Rings one. I know that there's other modern games that sort of have a similar thing, but I feel like Pikmin really had a unique and different feel, and it really came to the forefront in Pikmin 2. It was more disconnected. To me, it is truly a game with few good comparisons. The caves, too, or really they're just dungeons, probably the most memorable portion of the game to me. Cautiously moving through the dark, monster-filled chasms, looking for treasure to help your work and home. Not only that, but discovering new monsters, and then being able to see every bit of treasure and every monster you found, as if you were some sort of explorer or researcher. It was so great to me that I would spend whole days as a kid running around with no Pikmin around me, just Olimar, running around and exploring all the different areas. I want to do a little test, and maybe psych you out a bit, but I used to do this sort of thing to frighten myself and motivate me to write things down when I was a kid. I would tell myself, I won't remember this. Like, I wouldn't remember me saying to myself to remember it. And guess what? After all these years, I don't remember a single thing that I was doing when I told myself that. I remember making it a habit to try and do that so that maybe I wouldn't forget, but in the end I did. Memories get farther and farther away. And as they do, more memories get placed and stockpiled together. We remember the important things often in chunks, so to have a true, exact memory of something from when you were younger is something important to hold on to, I think. Even if it sometimes seems like something dumb, I imagine most of the time, the things that we remember exactly are remembered because it meant a lot to us at the time, positive or negative. They are things that shape the way that we are today. Before I came home, I had my last meeting with the on-campus counselor, and he had me take a Strengths Finder test. And in the top 10 of those were a few of these: gratitude, perspective, hope, and appreciation of beauty and excellence. Yes, that last one is just one. I don't know why that one's so much longer than the others. I'm afraid it might sound like a stretch to people who haven't experienced similar things to me or aren't the same way, but I really do feel like looking at my present strengths, at least according to this quiz thing I took, you can see the importance of these sort of things in just how nostalgic I am for these games, and also what these games ended up being and meaning for me, or perhaps the things that are in these games so strongly shaped what I end up liking today. Appreciation of beauty especially, that fits so well with my enjoyment of exploring the areas in Pikmin for the sake of it. Not just with Pikmin, but with all of the 3 others that I'd mainly talked about, I really liked reading all the dialogue in the games to see what character lives where and what they do. Maybe that's perspective. I don't know, these are sort of silly, but I do know that gratitude fits. I have gratitude for these games, sure, but the whole reason I came home and was able to re-engage with these games is because of my gratitude for my family, and for my mom, for my whole family. I want my mom to get better, to get back on her feet. I want to help support her, and I wish that my sister has an amazing graduation. I really can't believe that the same day I post this will be another of hundreds of notable pivots in my life. And it feels just like yesterday. We were playing Super Mario Sunshine, Pikmin II, Mario Party, and Double Dash together. I've already been gone and out of her life mostly for 3 years, and now she's about to be on her own journey too. I feel like I'm in a constant state of understanding and not understanding my own place and own path, my own thoughts and actions. All I can do is support and wish the best for the ones that I love. Move forward, but not forget the things that mattered to me the most, even if they seem silly or trivial. And that's what the GameCube means to me. Thank you for watching up till now. If you'd like to support me, you can be like WizBang2093, Akio, Thomas Greenway, and all of the other wonderful people who have on Patreon. I appreciate every dollar toward making this dream a reality, and I'm going to work hard to continue to try to make this happen. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you next week.